Welcome to Mindsprout. Today, we're jumping into a love story from the 16th century that completely tore up the rulebook on poetry. Edmund Spenser's Amoretti.
It's a pretty basic question today, right? But for hundreds of years, the answer was basically no way. The best love poems, the greatest love poems, were all built on drama, distance, and, yeah, a whole lot of despair.
I mean, seriously, for centuries, this was the unwritten rule of love poetry. The poet was supposed to be in agony over someone they could never have. The more frustrated and tormented they were, the better the poetry was supposed to be. It was kind of a recipe for beautiful misery.
But then, in the 1590s, one poet looked at this whole tradition of suffering and basically said, you know what? I'm going to do something completely different. He decided to write a love story with a happy ending.
Okay, so let's get into this. To really understand why Spenser was such a game changer, we first have to get a feel for the world of poetry he was writing against. This line right here, from one of Spenser's own early sonnets, just perfectly captures the mood. The poet says his love is a war with no end, a pain that will never, ever stop. This feeling of endless, hopeless frustration, that was the gold standard. And this style has a name. It's the Petrarchan tradition. It's named after a 14th century Italian poet, Petrarch, who wrote all these incredible poems about his desperate, unfulfilled love for a woman named Laura. The lady in these poems was always perfect, distant, and completely out of reach, a lot of times because she was already married to someone else. The poor poet was just left to suffer, and that suffering was the whole point of the poem.
But then along comes Edmund Spenser. Now, he knew all about the Petrarchan tradition, but his own life was handing him a very, very different kind of love story.
You see, Spenser wasn't writing about some impossible fantasy. He was writing about his actual, real-life courtship of a woman named Elizabeth Boyle, who was young, unmarried, and most importantly, she was available. This one simple fact, well, it changed everything. Spenser just completely flipped the script. Instead of the old way, this obsessive, often adulterous fantasy, he wrote about a real, honorable courtship. He wasn't chasing the drama of being rejected, he was trying to build a real life with someone. He turned the love poem from a story of frustration into a story of fulfillment. And Spenser didn't just change what he was writing about, he also changed how he wrote it. He built his sonnet sequence Amoretti around this hidden structure, this secret calendar that made his personal love story feel like something, well, divine. This is absolutely brilliant. He took the daily scripture readings for the year 1594 and used their themes to shape his sonnets. Suddenly, his courtship wasn't just a personal thing. Nope. It became this epic spiritual journey following the holiest days of the Christian year. And you can literally see how the structure works. The sequence kicks off with the soul-searching of Lent, then it moves through this long period of trial and reflection, then bam, you get this huge, joyful celebration on Easter Sunday. And it ends with this anxious waiting period before Pentecost, a holy day that's all about the union of the divine and the human. His personal love story fits perfectly into this journey of faith. So, what was the ultimate destination of this spiritual journey? For Spenser, it wasn't the tragic heartbreak of the old poetry. It was something totally new, a holy and happy marriage. Unlike that endless war and conflict in Petrarchan love, Spenser saw marriage as a sanctuary. It was a place where all that tension between spiritual and physical love could finally be resolved, where two people could find real peace and rest. See, Spenser was tapping into these new Protestant ideas about marriage that were sweeping through England at the time. Marriage wasn't just about having kids anymore. It was about companionship. It was a deep spiritual bond, a sacred union where mutual love was seen as a gift from God. This elevated marriage to a whole new holy level. But Spenser had one last, really powerful point to make. He believed that even in a real, mortal love story, something could be made to last forever. In Sonnet 75, which is one of his most famous poems, he explores this exact idea. He sets up this classic scene, a man trying to leave a mark and nature just erasing it. He writes his lover's name on the beach and the waves wash it away. He tries again. Same thing happens. It's such a powerful symbol of how temporary everything is. And then his beloved Elizabeth actually speaks in the poem. And her voice is so realistic, so gentle. She basically tells him, "You're being silly, trying to make a mortal thing last forever. I'm going to fade away and decay, just like my name in the sand."
But the poet has this incredible, triumphant comeback. Not so, he says. He declares that his poetry, his verse, will make her virtues eternal. He's not writing her name in the sand. He's writing her glorious name in the heavens, where it will live on forever. This is such a cool concept, and we call it literary self-consciousness. Spenser is basically writing about writing. He's making this bold claim that his art, his poetry, can actually defeat time and death. Their love will live on because he's captured it in a form that can't be washed away. So in the end, Spenser did way more than just tell his own story. He created a whole new template for what love poetry could be. He showed that it didn't have to be about impossible ideals and endless whining. It could be about a real, mutual, and honorable love that ends not in tragedy, but in the sacred peace of marriage. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. By giving love poetry a happy, grounded in reality ending, did Spenser make it less romantic? Or did he make it more real? And maybe, just maybe, more romantic than ever before?